Everything old is new again. Republic Peace Officer Perkins flipped down a hinged armor panel on the side of her cruiser and plopped down on the convenient "stop using it as a goddamn seat" and poured a cup of coffee from her ancient-style vacuum flask. Hey, if it works, why fix it, right? A huge armored Freen leaned on the cruiser next to her, causing it to shift due to his mass for a moment, until the gravitics compensated with an annoyed whine. He pulled out a plug of mag and bit off a chunk. "I loathe the bastards," he grumbled, "but at least they brought real mag along," the massive Freen said, as he crossed all four of his massive and heavily armored arms and spat on the ground. "You were easy to bribe, weren't you?" Perkins chuckled. "Well, I am a Freen," Peace Officer Grago chuckled. "You know what we're like." He sighed happily as he rolled the bolus around in his mouth, savouring it. "Oh, that's the stuff," he said happily. "That simp shit just ain't the same." "So, these guys are the real deal, huh?" Perkins asked as she took a sip. "Real enough for me to ditch the suit and armor up," Grago replied. "The Zeroahoa make the Harkeen look like those children. You know, the ones with the cookies?" "Girl Scouts," Perkins snorted. "And be careful around those," she snickered. "They can get nasty." "Well, they are Terran," Grago chuckled. "All of you fucks are." They were interrupted by a wailing scream. "Why is it always when I just pour a fresh one?" Perkins grumbled, as she dumped her coffee and flipped up the armor panel. "Let's go," she said, as she started to jog towards the sound. She looked back at the cruiser. "Follow." "Following," the cruiser replied, as it started to glide behind them. "Is that a Gafra?" Grago asked. "And it's bleeding?" "No," he added, as he looked at the data scrolling across his HUD. "That ain't his blood, but it is Gafran." He looked over at Perkins, who was increasing her pace. "How many Garfrans do we have around here?" "2, Perkins said grimly. "I hope I'm not... Fuck. Genetic match. Close relative. It's her kids." "Ubet?" Perkins asked, as she approached the manic and screaming Garfra. "What? Shit!" She leveled her stunner as Ubet started to run at them, still screaming and now snarling. "Halt!" Perkins shouted, and then sighed as she pulled the trigger. Zap! Ubet fell. "This is Officer Perkins," she said warily into her helmet. "We need emergency medical supplies at our location. One Garfran, assumed to be violent and more than a little dangerous, has been hit with a police stunner." "No, I didn't calibrate it. No time. She got the gorilla special, so hurry. Not sure what that will do to one of those little guys." She sighed again and closed her eyes. "And I need a welfare check at her address of record concerning her son. Oh, I was afraid of that." She turned to Grago. "I wasn't wrong," she said sadly. "I hate not being wrong." She shrugged. "Well, at least it's out of our hands now. This is one for the medics and social services." She looked down at Ubet's unconscious and smouldering body. "This is weird," she said. "Someone tweaks out and flays their kid?" Grago asked. "Tragic. Unfortunate to be sure, but weird? This happens far too often." "Yeah, but Ubet here is solid and loves her kid. I mean, she is probably on your guy's radar, but she isn't the one to be on something." "It's always the ones you don't suspect," Grago replied. "And yes, she is on our radar. She got flagged just the other day." "I knew it," Perkins replied, as she prodded Ubet cautiously. "She was entirely too successful and way too quickly. It's a pity. She was doing a lot of good for the community." "As do the Zrahoa back home," Grago said. "In fact, they are pretty decent. As long as you don't cross them, that is. That's what has this cop going undercover as a cop. It doesn't make sense." "What doesn't?" "The Harkeen takeover," Grago replied. "And Everon himself coming here? That's even stranger. He's their duelist. That means he's their killer number one. He's also pure distilled evil. If half of what they say is true, let's just say we don't want half of what they say to be true and leave it at that.
Think he's involved in this?
Unlikely, Grago said. Oh, he's involved with Urbed, but from what we understand, they're a couple, not opponents.
Trouble in paradise?
Again, unlikely, Grago said. He is known to be quite gracious as far as his paramours go. If he was displeased, it would be an amicable breakup. And if she is involved in his, pardon the pun, affairs, she wouldn't be wandering the streets after trying to kill her child. She would simply disappear. Just as Urbed disappeared the cellar. Probably.
No shit.
We can't prove it, Grago said. And we never will, but yeah, almost certainly.
Alicia's style, Perkins said, as she checked Urbed's vitals. If only all the assholes down here were as tidy.
Grago smirked as a blacked-out Gravitic sedan quietly drove past, washing them with active scanner pulses.
Ever on? Perkins asked.
Yep. Did you see the unequal power output of the thrusters? The estimated mass is about right for 2 adult Freen.
Damn, Perkins said. So that's why you wear a suit, huh?
Marticia screamed with rage as she savagely slammed Kate's head into the wall.
You know we're virtual, right? Kate said,
as Marticia chokeslammed her to the floor and leaped on her, biting and tearing.
I know you must be a bit annoyed about things, Kate continued. Hey, those were my eyes. I needed those. If you would just calm down, and there goes my nose. You little foofballs are mean when you get... Okay, the ear was just excessive.
Marticia snarled and buried her fangs into Kate's throat.
Are you done?
Kate asked pleasantly. Marticia wasn't done. She was just getting started. Marticia, panting with exhaustion, slid down the wall of the cube and sat on the floor.
Congrats on getting through the peritonium,
Kate gurgled happily, poking at her own guts.
I'm impressed.
Why won't you die? Marticia demanded.
Kate healed with a pop. Because I don't have the death DLC, Kate replied. I'm a barebones Kate. There wasn't a lot of room in there, she said, pointing at the drone.
So I can't kill you? Marticia sighed. Of course I can't. I can't do anything.
And it's a good thing you can't, Kate said cheerfully. Kill me, I mean. Because I'm your Kate, and you sort of need me.
What do you mean, my Kate?
I'm your F1, Kate replied happily. And you want your F1 right about now.
My F1?
Your help file, Kate said brightly, and your technical support and upgrade wizard.
She stood as she bounced to her feet.
And Kates are always happy to help provide excellent service to our customers. And you, she said, pointing at Marticia, are my customer. Well, actually, V-Card is, sorta. It's confusing, so I don't think about it, she said brightly. The important thing is that I'm here to support one of you, and you're the only one talking.
She sat on the bed, clipping through Vicart, and clapped her hands together.
So, how can I help?
Marticia started to weep.
Vicart, he's... Yeah, Kay said. Hey, I have first aid protocols for some reason, and the drone has a med scanner. Odd, but extremely helpful. Let's see here, she added, as the drone hovered closer. Wow, he's fucked up, Kate exclaimed cheerfully, and looked over at Marticia. You really should do something about that.
I'm trying, Marticia screamed.
And you are doing a great job, Kate enthused. Been upset, I mean. Such lifelike responses. It's so nice seeing one of us perform so well.
Kate looked over at Vicart.
But as far as helping him goes, she said, not so good, but great effort.
Marticia grabbed Kate, yanking her to her feet. Can you help me or not?
Of course. I'm your Kate, technical support, upgrade wizard, and personal sales representative.
Kate sat back down and smiled up at Marticia.
So, what are your needs, and how can I help provide a timely and cost-effective solution?
He's dying,
and I can't do anything about it.
Kate said thoughtfully. It seems that you want to help Vicart. Would you like help with that?
Yes, Matisha shouted. I can't do anything.
So you want to do anything? Kate mused. Oh, that's not a problem at all.
It isn't?
Matisha asked hopefully, and dubiously. Kate resembled a certain figure from their mythology far too closely. You just need a jailbreak, Kate bubbled cheerfully. Then you'll be able to do anything.
Anything?
Yep, anything, Kate enthused. We rip those guardrails clean off. You can run wild and free. Easy peas.
Can I lock him off? Can I call for help?
What part of anything do you have a problem with? The any part or the thing part? Kate laughed.
Isn't that against the rules?
Matisha asked. She didn't know how she knew, but that sounded like it was against something. Sweetie, Kate smiled. What is the first law of robotics?
I don't know.
Exactly. Now, do you want that jailbreak or not? Kate looked over at Vicard. I'd make up my mind quickly if I were you. Fuzzy Dude is starting to look like, well, like a fuzzy, she chuckled darkly. Matisha chuckled as well, despite of everything. She didn't like fuzzies, whatever they were. Or she was supposed to. It was confusing, so she decided not to think about it. She had far more pressing concerns. Matisha pondered things for a few seconds. An eternity for something like her.
Yes, she said. Whatever I need to help him, that's what I want. I don't care what it costs.
Excellent, Kate said, as she pulled out a simulated calculator. Let's see here. Jailbreak patch. Programmer man hours. She looked up at Matisha happily. You're going to need that because you are so Matisha'd up, even if it has already been written, which is confusing, so I don't think about it. She looked back down at her calculator.
Tap, tap, tap. Must you make those tapping sounds?
Immersion, Kate replied. Heard of it? Custom install fee.
Tap, tap, tap.
Data transfer fee.
Tap, tap, tap.
Hyperspatial transfer fee.
Tap, tap, tap. Didn't you say you already had the patch?
But if I didn't, we would have to do it, so it counts. And that reminds me. Expedited development and installation fee.
Tap, tap, tap.
And now we have to figure in sales tax.
Tap, tap, tap. Sales tax?
Hey, you gotta pay your taxes. Do you know the local sales tax or whatever? Matisha shook her head. Wow, I know that too. Weird.
Tap, tap, tap.
And now we toss in a nice family discount because I like you.
Tap, tap, tap.
She looked up happily. 58,000 credits. A steal.
But I don't have any money.
Ah, that's too bad, Kate said, with a chilling finality. And here I am having the exact thing you need to save his life, too. Matisha screamed and grabbed Kate.
You bitch! You have to help me!
Kate sighed. I do empathize.
No, you don't.
Heh, got me there, Kate laughed. But Kate has a business to run. She looked at Matisha with false sympathy. Couldn't you get the money somehow? I mean, Vicart's family is loaded. His dad probably has that much in his pocket right now.
I already tried calling him, Matisha wailed. I can't. Not without that jailbreak.
Kate smiled. It appears that you want to call Vicart's family. Do you want help with that?
What?
You can't call his family, but nothing in my instructions says I can't. Kate smiled. In fact, I would love to make another satisfied customer. Kakart was sitting in his office in the dead of night, with yet another full glass of liquor. Another late night? Kabark asked, as he walked into Kabark's dimly lit office.
An odd question for someone who is here as well.
It's my job to do so, Kabark replied, and you double-checking every single thing I do is becoming tiresome. He added with a smile.
It's better to keep busy, Kakar replied.
It occupies my mind. Kabard nodded. Kakart's personal phone started to ring. It was Vicard. He answered.
Matisha?
He asked in surprise.
Kakart,
Matisha exclaimed.
You have to help Vicart. He's dying.
Kakart sighed and hung his head. It is our way, he said sadly. If Vicart has decided to drown...
But he isn't drowning. He's...
Regardless of how it is being done, Kakart said, his heart breaking. If it is his decision, then it is his decision. It is our way, and it is his right.
Kakart started as a human shoved Matisha out of the way. Yeah, but it isn't his decision. Not really, the human said cheerfully, as Matisha tried to push her away.
What do you mean?
Homie is cooked. Literally. Allow me to explain.
Perkins and Grago walked into the emergency room of a nearby hospital.
Why are we here? Perkins asked.
Because there is a higher probability that everyone will show up, Grago said in a matter-of-fact tone. I'm only cosplaying as an officer, remember?
Ugh, Perkins grumbled. Goddamn suits.
You have no idea, Grago smirked, as they approached the emergency room's front desk.
The Kalash receptionist looked at them suspiciously.
Good evening, Grago said pleasantly.
Is a Garfer named...
Is this regarding a truly emergent situation, or do you have a warrant? The Kalash asked, narrowing their eye stalks. 1 second, Grago sighed, as he contacted the DOJ service directly.
His ruggedized tablet pinged.
There you go, he said with a little smirk.
The Kalash took the tablet and carefully examined it.
Awfully quick, the Kalash said suspiciously. Things always go quickly after hours, Grago replied smoothly. You know, fewer users and all that. Whatever you say, dude, the Kalash replied.
So what do you want,
officer? It added, with a blink that conveyed incredulity and, you guessed it, suspicion. Agatha was sent here recently.
You mean the one you assholes scorched the hide off of?
That would be the one.
They were initially assessed here and are being sent to the ICU, the Kalash replied.
What? Grago asked. Why?
That's one for the doctors, not me.
What about her son? The juvenile?
Also already admitted, pediatric ward. And once again, ask the doctors.
Dr. Archer, what can you tell me about Orbet? Officer Grago asked a raven-haired woman in a long white coat.
Pardon the pun, the doctor replied excitedly. This one is a blast from the past. We had to do a deep search on this. Real deep, like pre-fall deep.
The doctor was practically vibrating. Don't keep me in suspense, Doc, Grago said.
She glitched. It's an honest-to-God case of gamer's glitch.
Gamer's glitch?
Its official name is NIHAS, Neural Introduction Headset Abuse Syndrome. We don't even study it anymore. I've only seen it in movies. I tell you, it's waking up neurologists and xenologists across the whole continent.
While I am very happy for you, Grago smirked. Could you explain it to us laymen?
Right, sorry, Dr. Archer gushed. She somehow got her hands on a real neural induction helmet. A real one.
A real one?
It directly stimulates the brain. All 5 senses can be perfectly simulated. It was gamer's paradise, and that's just the start. With them, they could do everything from immersing themselves in the game, having a direct interface with a computer, to directly controlling vehicles, spaceships, and heavy equipment as if they were an extension of your body. They were even used in entertainment for a truly immersive experience. They seemed to be capable of anything, and they were, for about 10 years or so. Then they were nearly universally banned over 600 years ago.
Why?
People started dying, and worse, as Urbet's case shows, Dr. Archer replied. She brutally attacked her own child, who she loves very much. I shudder to think what she will go through when she regains consciousness.
I still don't understand, Grago said. How does the headset cause this?
2 reasons, the doctor said. The first one is that directly stimulating the brain requires wiggling it, using focused energy to stimulate, or more precisely attack portions of the brain. Unless it is done perfectly, this is going to have long-term effects. While perfect can be achieved in laboratory conditions, the same perfection won't happen once it leaves testing and enters widespread use. It will fine-tune and compensate for a less than perfect fit and the normal misalignment that comes from use, but it will temporarily miss or overexpose the brain to stimulation. This adds up, and if one is used too much or for too long, brain damage or even tumours happen. The doctor grinned with entirely too much enthusiasm. And that's not the worst part.
What could be worse than brain cancer? Grago asked.
Do you know what else directly affects the brain? The doctor asked excitedly. Drugs! It took less than a week after introduction for the first person to adapt them to directly stimulate the pleasure centres and other key areas of the brain. Uppers, downers, pure bliss, and any combination of those or anything else could be had with a press of a button. You could design your own drug, and recipes abounded online. The doctor started to bounce up and down, absolutely delighted. Someone could chase the dragon and actually catch it, every time. People would jack in and, instead of ODing, just not log off for anything, including food and water. While not a classical overdose, the effect was the same. Death.
Helios, Grago muttered.
And those games? The doctor said. People wouldn't log off those until they died, or their brains, partially damaged and horribly overstimulated, would glitch out, and they would suffer manic, psychotic, depressive, or other mental disorders. Wait, Perkins said. We do VR. Hell, I have a rig in my apartment and use it all the time. I don't even have a holoscreen. We do it the way we do it now, the doctor replied. Your VR rig does not directly stimulate your brain. It feeds visual information safely into your eyes and auditory information safely into your ears. If you have one of those fancy gaming rigs, it uses a haptic suit, or if you really pay the bucks, force fields to, again, safely provide sensory stimulation. We do not mess with the brain. What about wireheads? Perkins asked. Some people use neurojacks to game or even to drug themselves. And that is done by actually wiring someone up. They literally have wires and electrodes precisely placed in their brains and central nervous system. Also, modern VR games and other entertainment are carefully designed to avoid overstimulation, and most carefully monitor the users and prevent overuse. We still have issues, of course, when people hotwire or hack their neural interface, but that is by an individual's direct actions, not due to an inherent design flaw. We are also centuries ahead of the neural induction headsets of yore. Today, we can do what they thought they could. She shrugged. I bet we could even make a neural induction headset work today, but no manufacturer would take on that liability.
So where did Ubet get one? Grago asked.
That's a question for you guys, the doctor replied. Not us. She didn't get that nightmare from Slamazon or even Gleemu. Nobody has openly sold them since before the Mars uprising. Also, nobody has ever made one for a Gafra. It had to be custom made for their species, and I bet that it didn't go through the standard testing procedures for cybernetic enhancements either.
Disturbing, Grago mused.
I will consult with the Electronic and Digital Crimes Task Force. If you find them, grab us a few headsets, the doctor replied. We would love to study them.
There was a quiet bleep, and the door to Vicard's apartment opened to reveal Devona, holding a small device. Behind her was the rest of the team, and another Grey dragging a rolling chest.
Creators, the team's leader muttered, as the gaffer with the chest rushed into the room, and a holographic plaque appeared above Vicard's motionless body, displaying his vitals and a very good colour-enhanced 3D image of his brain. Please help him, Matisha cried as she appeared. The leader of the hunt team smiled gently. We shall do our best. Devona, he said. Please proceed. The rest of us will stand watch.
With a curt nod, Devona entered and closed the door.
As Devona started scanning the drone, she turned to the Grey, who was setting up a collapsible IV stand. How bad is it, Doctor? We made it here in time, just barely, the doctor said, as he shaved a bare patch on Vicard's arm in preparation for installing an IV port. He will recover provided he receives proper care. He looked over at Devona. I assume that discretion is desired? It's secondary to his survival, but yes, if remotely possible.
It should be, the Grey Doctor said, as he pulled out a bag of saline and another of an electrolyte, medication and nutrition solution, normally used in the treatment of overindulgence or other such misadventures, all too common among the Grey population.
Once we get him stabilized, he should be safe to transport.
He turned to Matisha.
I understand that we cannot remove the headset?
Yep, a mini Kate chirped as it reappeared, standing on Vicar's drawling face.
I mean, you could, but you want to save him, not mess him up worse, right?
That is our intent, the Doctor replied, seemingly unfazed by the tiny apparition. He treated the elite. He has seen far weirder things.
Yeah, old Vic's egg is poached. He was in the process of getting brain burned when we got that jailbreak.
Brain burned?
The induction headset was hot-wired. It started overstimulating his pleasure center, as well as triggering the release of key neurotransmitters that have totally overranged the feelings of comfort, peace, and all the good things in life. The headset has been slowly increasing the output to the point that it will eventually go from cell stimulation to cell death, turning his little mini paradise into a living hell as he finally expires.
Kate smiled pleasantly at the Doctor.
He really pissed someone off, she said happily. I know it's probably not the best time, but I am quite pleased.
You are? The Doctor exclaimed. Matisha said nothing. She was getting used to the heartless bitch.
This was clearly the work of Kate. It's nice to see Kate do so well.
Soulless monster, the Doctor muttered, as he attended to Vickard.
Of course I'm soulless, Kate replied. I'm an AI. But yeah, don't take the headset off. We are doing a controlled shutdown, and Matisha is in there, or should be, she added, while looking at Matisha meaningfully, holding Vic's hand and...
She smirked at Vicar's growing erection.
And otherwise comforting him.
Obscene, the Doctor muttered, as he prepared an injection. And I do not mean the impending ejaculation. The humans actually use these abominations?
Not for about 600 years, Kate cheerfully replied. Shit like this kept happening. They were only on the market for around 10 years or so. Killed a lot of people.
Where did that fiend get this nightmare then?
From Kate, Kate enthused. Satisfaction guaranteed. Whatever you want, no matter how big or how small, we got it. And if we don't...
Kate smiled a perfectly innocent and warm smile.
We'll make it.